try to order more than one snake and suddenly your entire tower has to be rebuilt for OSHA regulations, leaving you with a big-ass bill to pay and the snake with an all-expense-paid trip to Hawaii. But since I'm here and the Zelda jingle played, I might as well get back to what's important here. Retro achievements. Wait a damn second! Now, from the name alone, you might get the idea that these are achievements created by a community of dedicated and talented people who want to bring a new smark? What's a smark? Who want to bring a new spark into retro games via giving them an achievement list, which was introduced all the way back in the 7th generation of consoles, and you would be correct on that assessment, no need to explain it any further. Though what brought this sudden interest to go into the world of video game mastery, aside from having an emergency video to upload when the main Zelda videos are going super slowly from factors beyond my control? Well, I guess it would just be from the fact that I thought a smaller challenge like this would be fun, especially when there are several talented people doing these kinds of videos showing off how much of an epic gamer they are.
I have a free sub. If you beat the rest of the stage without dying now, I will subscribe. Oh, good luck.
But with all that rambling out of the way, let's get into the main event, getting every achievement in Super Mario Clock. I had to start somewhere in terms of retro achievements, and I figured this would be the best place, as the hardest thing about this set was setting your clock to the right time in order to be in the mines. And getting the frickin' DSi mode to work on RetroArch, which required scouring the internet for stuff that I thought could solve the problem, only to be denied access on account of the files having a different name, or the zip file just not wanting to unzip for no reason beyond my computer wanting to be put out of its misery. But once those hurdles were jumped, I got the mushroom, I became Luigi. I set up an alarm clock for myself a few minutes ahead, since this was a clock I would never use again, as I own a phone which can do that and more. Then the rest of that time I was just at a slightly better version of my job until I got enough money to buy myself a prostitute. Since why else would Mario be here when Bowser and his minions are taking an off day? Where with that final achievement, I mastered the game in 15 minutes and 44 seconds, since I'm just that good. So see you next time with another installment of Year of... Oh, right, this video was supposed to be about Sonic. So while all of this crap going on in the background sorts itself out, how about we take a look at all the Sonic DS games that are platformers! Fuck man, I nearly had a heart attack the moment that game entered the room. Something you might not know about me, which in this case is a lot, but one thing about me is that I like the funny blue hedgehog, as games such as Sonic Colors, the adventure games, and Sonic Heroes are some of my earliest gaming memories. Though that's speaking in terms of consoles. For handhelds on the other hand, it was the Sonic Rush games, which I played through my DSi, and despite playing them both, I don't recall ever beating them. So why not finish something from my childhood while also checking out what I missed with the DS port of Sonic Colors. So let's get this party started with Sonic Rush! By the way, I'll be categorizing my playthrough via how many days it took for me to master this game. No particular reason why, I just thought it would be useful for structuring. To kick things off, I started with getting the only missable achievement in this set being way ahead of you, buddy, for getting a Chaos Emerald before beating the first zone, which I did rather easily via finding these special generators that, with enough speed from my boost gauge, takes me to a special stage which functions similar to the special stages in Sonic 2, but with the added benefit of having depth perception, although it came with the cost of my mouse touching Sonic in a way that makes him feel no good. But let's ignore that for now, as I have 33 other achievements to get, with none of them relating to getting the Chaos Emeralds. Once getting that missable achievement, as I don't want to restart the entire game just for the opportunity of getting a singular achievement, I got through the rest of Zone 1 with relative ease, and even got an achievement for getting 100 rings, which wasn't really that hard, kinda like this zone as a whole given it's the first stage and all. Or at least that's what I wish I could say, as the first boss somehow managed to serve my ass on a silver platter. And it's not because he's some super hard boss on par with Zelda 2's late game bosses. Quite the opposite, in fact. He's insanely easy, with moves so easily telegraphed you'd have to not play this game in years to get hit by. Oh wait. However, for some baffling reason, Sega thought it would be a good idea to give the first boss of the game an insta-kill move that is not the easiest to avoid, to put it kindly, as the timing for dodging is so precise that if you time your jump too early or too late, then kiss that life goodbye. And it would be one thing if he did it once or twice, but he does it multiple times. moves, with each roll getting faster than the last. Needless to say, this singular move managed to get me the only game over in this entire run. And to say I was feeling a wide variety of emotions would be an understatement. Thankfully, I didn't lose anything progress-wise, and after replaying the previous acts, not only to get a future achievement, but also to recover the lives that I lost from the spinning Beyblade, whereupon both of us being down to the wire, I locked in and came out on top, with 3 cool achievements to boot. One for beating the boss without getting hit, which is the first of 8 of these damageless achievements, and oh boy do I have a story about some of them, for better or worse. Another for beating Sonic Zone 1, which is pretty standard, and the last one for getting an S rank as Sonic, which both of us were stunned by given my embarrassing gameplay that makes me agree with Sonic over here.
Should we try this again?
Upon beating the first zone, I encountered Tails, who becomes my personal cheerleader for all future bosses. I decide to start building up my lives and getting this achievement for touching Sonic outside of the special stages because whoever made this game thinks animals can't give consent. From there, I entered Sonic's second zone, Water Palace. And if you want proof that you can make a good water level, then look no further than here, as the music slaps. The water mechanics don't really affect you that much on account of the boost gauge keeping up your speed even when underwater. The level design is pretty solid, offering multiple pathways just like in Leaf Zone, and the boss being much more fair on the account that he doesn't have an insta-kill move. Though instead of it being piloted by Eggman, it's controlled by Eggman. Am I allowed to say that here? Since I don't feel like I should be saying that here. So let's call him Eggman Recolor, since that's essentially what he is, both design and boss-wise. Though speaking of the boss, I'll be talking about him and 2 others on another day, but to make a long story short, I beat the 8 turtle on my first try and got an achievement for beating Zone 2. Upon doing this, more story happens, which if I were looking at this game from an analytical perspective, then I would be talking about it. But I'm not. So here's me redoing Acts 1 and 2 of Water Palace so I could get what I missed both Emerald and rank-wise. Though before calling it a day, I went back to the A camera and showed the giant ton of scrap metal that I'm the boss around here and I don't want it to say otherwise. The first thing I did this day was complete Zones 3 and 4 of Sonic's campaign, and to give my brief thoughts on them, Zone 3 is decent, albeit the moments where the game forces you to wait around or beat these specific enemies are kinda cringe, and Zone 4 makes me want to go gambling, even though it's supposed to be a carnival along with money not being a thing in this universe, which in that case, what the hell is this supposed to be then? Getting back on topic though, I decided that instead of going to Zone 5, I might as well get 4 achievements out of the way to save myself the trouble later on. And spoilers, most of this day was spent on me trying to get these achievements, as trying to beat these 3 bosses damageless is easier said than done. Starting with the 8 turtle, who had 2 moves that gave me much grief. The first one being this slam move that I used to believe was luck if I could successfully dodge it, before realizing that I have the spin dash on me, which given how most stages give you a boost system that outclasses the spin dash in every way, can you really blame me for forgetting it? Though the second move is where I start to have questions, since this bite has a very small window for dodging, as go too far left and your ass gets bitten, too far right and the propeller cuts you to ribbons. So once I found that sweet spot, it was only a matter of time before eventually nabbing this achievement. Then we have the 8 Scarab, who compared to the previous boss isn't that bad, since all you really need to do is wait for the boss to roll this giant ball at you, then return it to sender. Since no one wants to be hit by an allegory for shit, and actual shit is even worse, Paramount! Really, the only trouble this boss gave me was when he started throwing several balls at me, since I never really knew which way the balls would go, and most of the time it led to a restart. But once I got an easy to dodge pattern for the random bullshit go attack, a pretty unremarkable boss was no more. Bringing us to the final member of the Egg threesome with the Egg Libra, and out of these 3, this one is definitely one of my favorite bosses in this game, as unlike every boss so far, the Egg Libra gives you 2 ways to damage it, via taking a swing at its giant hanging ball, then finishing the job, or jumping on the little robot who gives you serious airtime that allows you to get another hit in. And to beat this boss damageless, you need to utilize both of these methods to defeat this boss as quickly as possible, and I love it. since it's the game essentially just saying, here's Super Saiyan 4, break everything in your path whether it's moving or not. And that level of freedom makes getting this achievement so much fun. It also helps that the boss's attacks are incredibly easy to dodge for the most part, unless something like this happens, which in that case, you're better off grabbing the real Sonic and making him into a hard seltzer. But in between those attempts, I was also getting an A rank on every level as Sonic for the 4th achievement on the list from earlier, Footloose and Fancy Free, and I can only describe it as trial and error due to me trying to figure out how this game's ranking system works, which I didn't figure out until I started playing as Blaze and getting A ranks like I was taking candy from a baby, which is fine by me. Though speaking of Blaze, I decided to knock out some easy achievements via starting Blaze's story, unlocking these 3 achievements for beating zones 1 to 3 respectively, along the way getting Cream as Blaze's cheerleader who, unlike Tails, Cream isn't parentless, getting an S rank as Blaze via the Egg Libra fight, again proving why this boss is the best, something about straight up death wanting to know my location, and borderline sexual harassment. God, that workplace must have been toxic as fuck to let something like this occur in a Sonic game. Day 3 is what I consider to be a pretty eventful day, as I managed to knock out 11 whole achievements, starting with the easy ones like clearing zones 4, 5, 6, and 7 in Blaze's story, where it was during this process that I learned how to easily get A ranks in this game, since out of the 4 bonuses the game scores you by, time is the most important as it gives the most points out of the 4, with tricks being the second important, and rings and speed being lumped together as the final push that can help you break into the S rank territory. But once I figured all that out, getting A ranks for both characters was no longer an issue, as you can see from me clearing zones 5, 6, and 7 in Sonic's story with solid A ranks across the board. But while that was going on, I got 2 out of the remaining 4 damageless achievements, with Egg Eagle being not as hard as I thought, as his attacks give you enough time to get out of the way, even applying to this energy missile attack, which is surprisingly easier to dodge than you might think, leaving a boss that only took me a few tries to complete. Then there's the Egg Hammer Fortress, which given how the first Egg Hammer caused me to get a game over at one point, you might think this boss might be the death of me. I beat him damageless on my first try, as not only does this boss have the same easy to dodge attacks from the first Egg Hammer, but slightly faster, as if that changes anything, but the new moves this boss has makes me convinced that Eggman Recolor might need a new prescription, since what is he aiming at? The only thing this boss is good at is stalling, which given how time is extra important in this game determining your rank for the boss battles, is worth something in the long run, just not much. Though let's get to the most interesting part of this day, Vela Nova. These 2 damageless achievements were the most interesting achievements I obtained on this day for differing reasons. But let's start by describing the boss fight itself. Unlike every other fight in this game, this fight is unique on the grounds that you're fighting the other playable character. And the only way you're going to damage them is if they're standing completely still, as if they're doing anything else, they gain super armor that just bounces you away if you jump on them. It encourages the player to not only keep on their toes in terms of dodging the boss's attacks, but also find an opening to damage the boss in a way that no other boss fight in this game does. And that boost off in the end, just good stuff right there. And now that I've laid out the basics of this boss fight, let's talk about these damageless achievements. Starting with Blaze, she's the easier of the 2. Not because her attacks are much easier to dodge or because she's a cat, and as we all know, cats can easily be beamed by simply throwing a can of cat food at them, but because of the fact that whoever designed this fight somehow implemented something where upon getting all A ranks as Sonic, Blaze's AI just turns off completely. I don't know what caused this, but
have a nice ball, you stupid bitch.
Oh right, we have to fight Sonic now. Well, seeing as how I also got all A ranks as Blaze, I'm sure Sonic will be quite understanding and let me have this. Jesus Christ, Sonic! Since when were you such a misogynist? You never acted this way towards women before! Was it because of the slap? It was the fucking slap. Get over yourself! She doesn't exist anymore! There's no reason for you to be taking your aggression out on me! So you have a nice fall, you stupid bitch! Hey, Fur, aren't you going to talk about why doing Sonic damageless was difficult? Shit, I knew I was forgetting something. Here's some text on screen. Pause if you want to read about it. Now that you've read it properly, let's think of a way to transition to With almost every achievement obtained in the game, the only thing I had left was just beating the A-King and the true final boss. But dethroning a tyrant was easier said than done, since this boss was a tough son of a bitch to beat, as this boss essentially requires you memorize his attacks front to back. Since he has a pattern of doing a randomized attack, and if dodged, he will punch the wall and you hit his arm, then climb up to do damage. Sounds simple on paper, but in execution, his attack speed is way faster than the player is able to dodge them, thus leading to the player getting hit enough times for all their rings to fly too far for the player to retrieve, thus dying and starting the whole fight over again. Special shout out to this electric bullshit killing most of my attempts, since its attack pattern is hope to god that this game is generous with you today. I'm not exaggerating when I said it took me over an hour and an ungodly amount of attempts for me to beat F-Zone, bagging me the achievement of Vela Nova. Then I had to do it again as Sonic. Weirdly enough, it only took me 2 attempts in 9 minutes to beat, getting me the achievement A New Day, leaving only one thing left to do, the Extra Zone.
Blame, too strong. Blame, too strong.
Sorry to cut things short, but I have like 2 other games to talk about, and beyond me having a skill issue with learning how this boss works, there really isn't much to talk about, so let's skip to the end where I eventually learned the pattern and beat the Extra Zone, netting me not only the final achievement, but also mastery over Sonic Rush in 12 hours and 23 minutes over the course of 4 days. Where at the end of the journey, I came to the conclusion that mastering Sonic Rush is a good way of getting someone into retro achievements, as you can get half if not most of the achievements through just playing the game normally, with some of the more out-of-the-way achievements not requiring the player to learn the gaming equivalent of rocket science. And honestly, I have no problem with that, as sometimes having a straightforward set can help people learn the ropes of the site before being thrown into the bullshit. But with Sonic Rush Mastered, let's head to its sequel, Sonic Rush Adventure, where I'm sure that there will be no problems going forward whatsoever. With 48 achievements on the list, I began my day by getting an achievement for hitting on Tails like a true Sonic fan.
Damn! I hate you!
Then I get another achievement for beating the tutorial before being flashbanged by Fate Stay Night. Then my eyes adjusted to see that it was not a Type Moon game, it was just the plot of Sonic Rush Adventure, which I will get into later since oh boy do I have things to say about it. But for now, after the tutorial, I built the water bike with the materials that I got from beating the tutorial, and immediately I now have to talk about the crafting system. A new thing added in this game where upon being an act in a certain zone, you will gain materials that will enable you to create stuff like a water bike, boat, hovercraft, and submarine for traveling purposes. Which in order to beat the game along with this set, you will need to make all of them. And upon saying that out loud, I suddenly realized how arbitrary this system is, since it is essentially locking progression behind a material wall. And if you aren't good at the game or aren't grinding the stages in order to get an A rank, since spoilers, but the all A rank achievement is back, this time with the benefit that playing these stages for the A ranks gets you more materials, which means less busy work for me. However, if you are playing this game normally, then have fun repeating the same stages just for the chance to progress further, cause trust me, you will need it. Speaking of progression, once acquiring the water bike, I mapped the path to the first island, cause god forbid this game be like the other elves. At least the water bike is fun, but I'll discuss that later since it has its own set of achievements attached to it. Then once at the first island, And now the gameplay, which given this is the first zone, I get through it with relative ease, netting me 2 achievements for beating the zone along with beating the boss of Plant Kingdom, which in this case was a mechanical dinosaur damageless. And honestly, after fighting him, I can't help but feel like I did him a favor by making him extinct, since if not for me, then someone else would have made him extinct in a far worse manner. Also, while I was going through Plant Kingdom, I managed to snag an achievement for doing a 15 or higher trick combo. I would have mentioned it sooner, but I forgot where in the recording I got it and only found it just as I was writing this sentence. Shit like this is why you write down timestamps in your recordings. Upon beating Plant Kingdom, I was given access to the first of many missions in this game where I just beat up the dinosaur again, cause extinction is apparently a temporary thing. But A-rank stuff later, which if you want to know my strategy for that, go fast, trick hard, and hope to god you have a lot of money in your pocket. I drew a map to the second island of the game, Machine Labyrinth, where aside from learning that Sonic and Blaze have thankfully successfully managed to fix the toxic work environment from the last Rush game, Machine Labyrinth was pretty manageable to go through, scoring A ranks on my first try. Though sadly, I wasn't able to do the boss of this island damageless on my first go. But given how this is one of the few bosses to have more than one achievement tied to it, perhaps this was a blessing in disguise in the grand scheme of things. With Zone 2 finished, I made a vote and instead of using it, I went back to the Ghost Pendulum for the following achievement of Lightweight, which is to only damage the boss with the lightest ball available, and if you're wondering, this attempt sadly had damage in it cause I had a skill issue. But with the Lightweight achievement on my belt, I figured the next day I play this game would be a good time to get its respective counterpart of the Heavyweight achievement, for damaging the Ghost Pendulum with only the heaviest ball available. And aside from me not knowing I need to switch balls the moment this little animation starts playing, I was able to nab both this achievement and the damageless one with no problems. With all Island 2 achievements obtained, we went straight to the boat where
This bloke is a kind he calls himself a spy.
I'm the spy.
well, anyways, I drew a map to the next course where
Hey, you must be the blue hedgehog that everyone's talking about lately.
oh my god! I'm actually having fun again! And these races are important for both game and achievement progression? You get to live another day, Sonic Rush Adventure, but you're on thin ice, young man! Once that race was finished, I found one of the 16 hidden islands in the game, which will be important for several achievements in this set. Where upon easy completion, Marine fucks around and uncovers the entrance to Atlantis. Upon finishing the 2 acts of Atlantis, I stumble across the main antagonist of this game, Captain Whiskers, who is trying to take a thing called the Jewel Scepter, but more importantly, Blaze the Cat shows up and I have to fight the Ghost Kraken again after beating this world. So let's just move on to the bombshell that apparently the plot of Sonic Rush Adventure is an isekai. Even back in 2007, isekais were flooding the market. But hey, we can play as Blaze now, and the first thing I do is learn that Sonic Rush Adventure was one of the inspirations behind Sinners, before returning to the Ghost Kraken to make him into some medium rare seafood. I'm not gonna eat it since I'm not a fan of seafood, but hey, if you want it, then go right on ahead, it's yours. From there, I just focused on replaying stages to get A-rings that I missed the first time, missions that have achievements tied to them, such as the Soul Emerald missions, which are also important for gameplay and achievement progression, and so on. But eventually, I needed to progress the main story, so I made my way to the next zone, Haunted Ship, which can only be described as a ghost story except told by someone with ADHD and a strong background in music composition. Though from this point onward, I decided to save the damageless achievements for much later, cause I have a lot of game to go through, and if this bastard is anything to go by, these bosses are leagues tougher than the bosses from Rush. But zone finished and another ship constructed, I figured now would be a good time to start grinding away at the fat of this game, from doing missions given to me by the koalas on the island, especially the Soul Emerald missions, racing Johnny for more Chaos Emeralds, uncovering hidden islands for both achievements and to make a certain part of the game more bearable. Also props for the Rush throwback game, that one was pretty cool. But most importantly, the combo achievements for each of the 4 ships you build. Starting with the water bike and hovercraft, since out of the 4 playstyles for traveling, these 2 are the best since they keep the core aspect of a Sonic game, speed. Since all you need to focus on is getting to the end while maintaining a high combo, which after taking a while to find the correct route to get a high combo in the first place, I was able to nab both of these achievements in a relative short amount of time compared to the other 2 combo achievements. After a while though, I got sick of fat scraping, so I decided to save it for another day. Since if these later achievements are anything to go by, I really needed it cause it ain't getting any easier from here. Not much happened between these 2 days to talk about them individually, so I decided to combine them for the sake of this video having a consistent flow. Or at least as much of a flow this video could have, given I'm not sure how far in we are, but I'll leave that to my editing self. The first thing I did this day was find more hidden islands before getting back to the main story at hand, beating both Blizzard Peaks and Sky Babylon in the process. Where story-wise, I stopped Whiskers from freezing a Viking named Norman who will serve me well in my mastery quests, and in Sky Babylon, Blaze reveals that she's afraid of heights, where you could hear the writing room going into an uproar of laughter over that piece of comedy gold. But now it's time to find the rest of the hidden islands and get this stupid island achievement already. And while we're at it, let's also build our submarine for the final shipbuilding achievement, with its playstyle being touching enemies who just happen to appear in sync with the song, playing like a mid-tier rhythm heaven game. More on that later on. But with the submarine, we reach a door where in order to progress, we need to do a fetch quest. Did I just make an unintentional rhyme? And thanks to my island searching escapades from the previous days, it's not as tedious as it could have been. Once that's done, we get a scene where Blaze finally tells Marine exactly what I've been thinking this entire game. Cause yes, Marine is a nuisance. In fact, that's all she's been this entire game. Since every scene is just Marine being an annoying little shit and taking the spotlight away from the actually interesting characters. Like she's Marinette Dupen Chang. And if you're reminding me of a show with writing that I'm not even sure could be considered first draft material, then it's probably time you went back to the writing board and reevaluated what you just put on screen.
Marinette, Tokyo needs you, or rather, it needs Ladybug.
Tokyo?
And now that the nuisance is gone, it's time we start cleaning some of these miscellaneous achievements, like the 3 boss damageless achievements. Starting with the Ghost Pirate, who, unlike the bosses before him, has no set pattern for his attacks, which led to several failed attempts on account of me getting blindsided by whatever attack he just felt like that day. It honestly felt like sheer luck when I finally got the damageless achievement for this guy, which is something I can thankfully say isn't in the next boss I fought damageless. Instead, it was replaced by reliving the worst parts of college. College itself. As the Ghost Well is essentially 3 long obstacle courses where you need to simply get to the end before he spits you right out, which can graciously be extended by attacking what I assume to be his hemorrhoids, which sounds simple on paper, but once the concept of doing the boss hit list comes into the equation, it resulted in me making a lot of stupid mistakes on account of the pressure of the whole thing, just like my college exams. But eventually, with enough practice and memorization, I beat the Ghost Whale damageless. But what about the Ghost Condor? What about him? Out of the 3 bosses I fought, he was the easiest one, as his attacks are not only simple to dodge, but also easy to cancel via jumping to the ground. Just be patient and you'll get this achievement around your first few attempts. Though some part of me was left unsatisfied by that fight, as the next thing I did was get the combo achievements for both the ship and submarine. And compared to the previous combo achievements, these were not all that fun. As starting with the mid-tier Rhythm Heaven game, at first it seems relatively simple on account of the combo being the least demanding out of the 4, but then the problems start to arise when the game starts throwing several enemies at you in such a way that your Nintendo DS can't react to quick enough, thus resulting in you getting hit and having to do the entire thing again. So thankfully, I was able to find a solid route that had enough enemies for me to hit the combo requirement while also not being a dick about it, which is something I can't say about the boat. Out of all of the sailing playstyles in this game, the boat is hands down my least favorite, as it's slow, throws too much shit at the player to be able to react to properly, and trying to get a combo of 200 can only be described as a descent into insanity. As in order to get a combo of 200, you need to not only do it damageless, but you also need to do it perfectly, as in don't miss any shot, as if you do, your combo resets, which out of every playstyle I've discussed in this video, the boat is the only one that has this stipulation, leaving me totally baffled as to why Sega would include something like this. And it's not like building up a combo with the boat is easy, since most of the time I was just spamming the flamethrower on account of it allowing for multiple hits, which doesn't help when you see several cannonballs coming your way, leading to me scrambling to bring out the precise bullets to hit them, only for them to hit me anyway, because the boat gameplay was designed by the programmers who made Shadow the Soapog. But eventually, I was able to get a total combo of 200 on the boat minigame. Actually, that's a lie. I got a combo of 365 on the boat game, because that number just resonates with me for some reason. However, now that these achievements are out of the way, it's time to open a door and access the best zone in the game, Pirate Island. Then I fought Whiskers and Johnny, who I'll have to fight again tomorrow, but at least I can enjoy the story now that the stupid raccoon is piss off, Ghost Tie, and I'll deal with you tomorrow! You know, I can't help but feel like I forgot to do something. Perhaps getting the damageless achievement for the Whisker and Johnny fight will... What the hell is that that bullshit? Well, joke's on them. I can also be a cheesy little bastard too. So what's next to do on the list? Oh yeah, the Ghost Titan. Well, since I have every other damageless achievement, I might as well hit 2 birds with 1 stone. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? On second thought, let's just beat the boss normally. I'll deal with the hitless achievement later. But hooray! The pirates are no more! Now for this little shit to explain herself before revealing that she actually was useful via retrieving the jeweled scepter during the commotion. Because I saw it coming a mile away due to watching around 200 plus films this year. You aren't special, you orange-tailed rat! But now that peace has returned to the sea, it's time to upgrade my ships to sail in the morning, where I will find every Johnny Spot and kick his ass in water racing to get every Chaos Emerald in the game, showing him that he has a severe skill issue in both racing and life. But once that was finished, I decided to shift my focus into completing the biggest hurdle when it comes to mastering Sonic Rush Adventure, the missions, which are given to me by several of the koalas on the island. At the end of the day, managing to successfully complete all of Kolik and Setter's missions respectively. But trust me when I say I barely made a dent in the overall mission count. But before I ended the day, I decided to attempt the damageless achievement of Ghost Titan again, because I hate myself apparently, as the Ghost Titan is hands down the worst boss to beat damageless. As in order to have a chance of beating this boss damageless, the game forces you to memorize each and every one of his attacks. As in order to damage the boss, you need to use his attacks against these cannons in order to disperse a force field surrounding them. From there, you need to destroy the turret in order to get inside the cannon. Don't ask me how that works, cause I'm just as lost as you are. Then you need to time your press in order to damage him. Sounds pretty easy, right? Well, yes, but actually no, cause Sega thinks otherwise, as they included this following list of bullshit to make sure that you see the Ghost Titan in your nightmares tonight. Starting with random hitboxes, an attack pattern that is more RNG heavy than any casino stage in this franchise. The boss swarming you with several attacks that give you very little time to dodge. Getting blindsided by an attack from off screen. The force field's disbursement causing you to get knocked directly into an attack. And did I forget anything else? Oh yeah, the lower his health gets, the faster his attacks become, thus leading to a higher chance of you getting hit, thus having to do this entire fight all over again. It took me around 2+ hours just to get this stupid achievement. Every other damageless achievement in both Rush games took me less time to get in comparison. Which, speaking of the previous Rush game, I want to thank the developer of that set for not including the damageless achievement for the Egg Tyrant. Cause if this shit show is anything to go by, I guarantee you there would have been riots on the streets. Though I will say, the moment I did manage to get this achievement, I felt so much pleasure in having a giant weight be lifted off my shoulders. I never want to fight this boss again after this experience. Now, compared to the previous days, these next 3 were primarily focused on completing the numerous missions of the game, which normally I would go into incredible detail to describe how I overcame such adversity. But there's a problem with that approach. Completing these missions was boring, as the missions were either complete the stage again, get a certain amount of whatever here, complete this boat stage where results may vary, beat the stage but with an incredibly tight timer which requires speedrun strats just to complete, beat this boss again but they're harder. Spoilers, they aren't. Go through these rings where if you miss one, then you have to start the mission over again because our programmers didn't like you today. Or find this medal hidden in the stage, where weirdly enough, that was my favorite mission type and that one was given by Marine. So I'll leave the jury open on that one. So I'll just show each mission achievement popping up on screen so we can both save ourselves the hassle. Though the most interesting thing about these missions was me clearing a Soul Emerald mission as the last mission, which little did I know at the time, essentially damned this entire run. But with all the Chaos and Soul Emeralds collected, I unlocked the game's extra zone, where it is revealed that to the surprise of nobody, the Eggmans were the true masterminds behind this whole game, so it's time to go super and defeat the Egg Wizard with the power of mashing the A button and baseball. But that's not the end of this story, as just like the Ghost Pendulum, he has 2 special achievements attached to him, those being to beat him using only Blaze and Sonic respectively. The Blaze one was pretty easy on account of it just being press A until he dies. which was so good that I got an A rank on it, thus leading me to achieve A-class pirate for getting an A rank or better on all stages. Then I beat him with only Supersonic, which took some learning on how to swing a baseball, but I got there eventually, leaving only one last achievement for clearing Mission 100, which can only be unlocked for clearing every mission in the game. Something that I've already done, so this should be an easy grab, right? Right? Upon finishing every other achievement in the set, I went to Marine in order to unlock Mission 100, as I've already fulfilled the requirements to do so, but she didn't. Naturally, I thought I was missing something, like a conversation with the NPC who would have made Marine give out Mission 100. So I talked to several of the koalas to see if they would give me something different, but that didn't work either. So I then redid a previous mission to see if that would unlock Mission 100, similar to the A rank achievement, which didn't pop during Decor, but appeared when I redid playing Kingdom Act 1. Still got no results. Seeing as how I was getting nowhere troubleshooting this problem by myself, I then realized we have technology. That didn't work either, so I just googled, why the hell isn't Mission 100 unlocking in Sonic Rush Adventure for the Nintendo DS? Please. And the results I got froze me to my very core. As if the last mission you complete was a Soul Emerald mission, then the game will lock you out of accessing Mission 100, thus rendering 100% completion of this game to be impossible, which in my situation means I need to not only beat the game all over again with a new save file, but also complete 99 of the most tedious copy and paste missions for a second time. All because this little brat hated the fact that I did a Soul Emerald mission as the last mission. Naturally, I didn't want to replay the entire game again just for the sake of one achievement, so I decided to head to RetroAchievements in order to resolve this small child's hissy fit. And before I go into the rest of this story, I want to make an important disclaimer and say, don't harass any of the people shown in this video. They are incredibly talented and helpful people who, if it weren't for them, then this video would have taken way longer to complete. So if you want anyone to point at Sega for allowing this kind of bug to be present with no way of fixing it. From there, I contacted both the QA team and the creator of the set himself, PewPod, but that didn't lead anywhere. So I did the next best thing and waited in line to get into RetroAchievements Discord server, where upon being let in, I found the unlock request page and submitted a request for the final achievement to be unlocked, providing the necessary evidence to prove my case. And around a week later, my wishes were finally answered, as the creator of the set came into the thread and provided his insight on the whole thing, saying he didn't even know this glitch was a thing until now, giving more proof to the fact that this nuisance is sentient and filled with hate. From there, the unlockers did their magic and granted me the achievement. Now everyone's happy, which is ironic since when I got this achievement, I was feeling anything but happy. Nice try, jackass. Next time, learn to be more competent at progression blocking. But there's a moral to this story, and that is, don't let your guard down, cause your story might get a sudden development while in the editing stages. As apparently, the orange little rat did it again to another poor RA user named Paragon, who not only had to get the QA team involved with her again, but this also resulted in the achievement now being marked as missable, with my comment from May now being used as a lighthouse to warn passing players to be careful when around small children, which was a development I was absolutely not expecting, let alone it occurring while having a cold. Now back to your previously scripted stuff. You know, I didn't think it was possible for a set in RetroAchievements to hamper your enjoyment of a game, but when it comes to Sonic Rush Adventure, this set really showed some of the cracks in this game, like the sailing minigames being a mixed bag, the game just constantly wasting your time whenever possible, and just so much more, to where I think this game is decent but not worth coming back to anytime soon. That being said, the achievement set for this game is a good step up, as it has achievements that require you to go out of your way to test your skills in this game, though I really wish we got more achievements like the ones in Ghost Pendulum and Egg Wizard respectively, as those were a lot more fun to experiment with. Perhaps we can even replace the Ghost Titan's damageless achievement with something fun, like beat the Ghost Titan using only the right cannon, for example. But as it stands, it's a fun set for a flawed game. Though now with 2 masteries in the bag, let's begin with the final game on this list, Sonic Colors for the Nintendo DS, which unlike the previous games, I'm going in completely blind, as the only knowledge that I have of Sonic Colors comes from playing the Wii version of the game. So let's hope for the best with this one. thing I see is oh! Upon my eyes getting their vision back from a 240p YouTube video, I get into the first stage where upon completion, I get an achievement. Which I would say was very generous, but the challenge comes in when you don't have a boost gauge, which is like having a Mario game where you aren't Italian. That being said, I was also able to bring 50 rings to the end, letting me access the special stage, which, to give a brief summary, they are a mixture of Sonic 3 and Sonic Rush's special stages. More details on that later when I have to S-rank them, since there's an achievement for that. But needless to say, Special Stage 1 was no trouble at all, leading me to not only get a Chaos Emerald, but also an achievement and S-rank to boot. But upon entering Act 2 of Tropical Resort, we get introduced to White Wiz, who act like Sonic's boost gauge from the previous 2 games. Though unfortunately, they didn't bring the trick system back, which on one hand, it leads to one less thing to worry about for S-ranks, but on the other hand, I really want to style on my enemies like it's Devil May Cry for kids. Also, if you're wondering about the 2 achievement counts popping up in the bottom right corner, they're for 4 respective achievements. Those being to get a certain amount of rings and widths in a single session, which are so easy that you'll get them via playing the game normally. So let's get back to the achievements with a little more thought, like being an act with the white wisps in it. I know I praised the Sonic Rush set for being straightforward with its achievements, but when it comes to Sonic Colors, these are child's play. In fact, they are so easy I could just beat zone, learned about missions I will discuss more another day. Went to Sweet Mountain, got Burst Wisp. Fought with Burst like it was a game of pinball but in the air. Got achievement. Then I went to Special Stage 2, cleared it with an S rank and all. Beat Pirate. Got the only unique stage achievement by using the Burst Wisp to skip the glider in Tropical Resort Act 1. Went to Starlight Carnival, got Rocket Wisp. Beat Act 1 with Rocket Wisp. Went to Special Stage 3. Beat Special Stage 3 like the previous 2 special stages. Then called it a day since I got around 11 achievements today, and I could do the rest another time as I started Sonic Rush at the same time, so I focused on that and the rest is history. For this day, it was essentially just a repeat of day 1 again, where I just got the straightforward achievements of being act with this wisp you just unlocked, beat these special stages via bringing 50 plus rings to the end of the stage, though unfortunately I couldn't S-rank them first try, but that does at least provide some interesting material for the next days. Though for some reason, I decided to S-rank all of Tropical Resort before beating Asteroid Coaster, which looking back was a strange choice, since this day I just decided to beat the game normally. But after that, I beat the boss with a S rank, netting me 2 achievements in the process. Once that was finished, I learned that the final emerald was in Gameland for some reason, and upon accessing Special Stage 7, which I can only describe as trial and error gameplay, I got the final emerald, which also gave me 2 achievements. However, with all 7 emeralds in hand, it was time for the extra boss of the game, the Nega Mother Wisp, which was pretty underwhelming, though it could have been worse. Sadly, however, I only A-ranked the boss, so I'll have to fight her again tomorrow. This is the point where the set actually gets interesting, so no more Wikipedia-style summaries, it's time to get serious. Around the start of this day, I focused on wanting to get S ranks on every stage in this game, starting with the Nega Mother Wisp, where my strategy was hope to god the meteorites hit her hands, then when coming straight towards her, move to the far left or right of the screen to easily avoid the laser, then hit her 3 times where with enough time and rings, the S rank was obtained with an achievement to boot. Then I went on to tackle the more challenging stages in this game, the special stages. Remember when I described these special stages as a fusion of Sonic Rush and Sonic 3? Well, allow me to elaborate on that. In each stage, you go through a course 3 times, collecting red, blue, and yellow orbs respectively, each lap causing you to go faster and faster on the course, something which is perfectly manageable in the first 4 special stages, but in these 3? Oh no, they are hell to go through, and that is due to one simple factor. Touchscreen controls do not translate well when placed in a different setting, as these 3 special stages require a lot of precision to not only get the required amount for completion, but a high amount of orbs for the S rank, as the S rank here is determined by the orb and chain bonus, with the orb bonus being the most important out of the 2, as you'll get a good chain bonus just by being the stage normally, something the mouse just simply can't replicate, as it has this habit of switching between being responsive to which if the several attempts being shown on screen is any indication, kinda makes collecting a high amount of orbs a nightmare. It got so bad that I needed to switch the game to sideways just to see if that would help me control Sonic better. Spoilers, all it did was make zooming onto the footage easier. Eventually, I was able to S-rank the last 3 special stages, thus giving me an achievement for S-ranking all special stages. Then I had to do the running part of terminal velocity without taking damage, which was nowhere near as hard, only requiring that I not only memorize where the obstacles are laid out, but also not hold down the boost button, something I'm very used to at this point. From there, I decided to get all the red rings in Tropical Resort, since I seem to have collected most of them from my playthrough, so no harm in getting something done early. From there, I focused on S-ranking all the acts in the game, which thankfully is just 10 stages, as I S-ranked the bosses rather easily beforehand. So to summarize that process, time is your biggest priority, as it gives you the biggest score bonus, while having a high amount of wisp and rings can help you in getting you that necessary push into being in the S-rank score requirement. Though what that score is heavily depends on the area. But I will say that S-ranking places like Planet Wisp and Asteroid Coaster were an absolute nightmare. Thanks to the wisp, you have to use controlling like crap, either from being so stiff that making simple turns can send you bouncing off the walls, or being so slippery that even the smallest of speed can guarantee you crashing into a vast of insta-kill acid. But from sheer trial and error, I managed to get all A ranks in both acts of each zone, netting me several achievements. But I'm not done just yet, as there's a few more stages left, and those are the missions, where they are essentially playing the stage again, but this time with a stipulation, like getting a certain amount of rings or reach the goal before time runs out. And depending on the zone, these missions can range from mundane but require a couple of retries, to fuck Planet Wisp and Asteroid Coaster. These stages can get whatever the planet version of hemorrhoids is. The most interesting thing about these missions are the people giving them to you, as Sonic's friends do not appear in the Wii version of Colors, so it's nice to see them showing up here, and some of the interactions can be quite charming, like Amy testing Sonic's patience to not get a restraining order, or I needed a better computer anyway. Upon successfully beating every mission in the game yesterday, I decided that today I would S-rank every mission I didn't complete the first time, which involved a lot of trial and error, so to save you the hassle, I finally managed to S-rank every mission in the game, netting me both an achievement for S-ranking all missions and for S-ranking the entire game, leaving only the red rings left as the final achievements to get. And just like that, I got every red ring in the game, giving me an unlimited boost, which while cool on paper, means nothing to me as I just mastered this game and won't be using it anytime soon. So sayonara wisps until next time. Which will be a year or 3 from now, but I'll let you decide which one is the canon return. With the exception of 2 achievements, nearly all of the achievements in this set can just be completed via beating the game to 100%. Which on one hand, it's admirable how straightforward this set is. On the other hand, it's so straightforward that unlike the previous 2 DS games, there really wasn't much to talk about that wouldn't just evolve into me just going,
I come to make an announcement.
Sonic. Really, all I can say is this set, while decent on its own, could really use some more out there achievements that required the player to look at the game in a new perspective, either in a big or small way. And that's the entire Sonic DS Trilogy Master. This little detour was quite fun, but if you excuse me, I got some Zelda games to come. Oh, I think I might need to seriously retool this year-long challenge. But first, if you enjoyed this video, then you should consider subscribing. Or giving a like at the very least, since these videos take a while to make and my computer isn't helping in that process. 100 likes and I'll do the Sonic Advance trilogy. Okay, bye!